name is Lindsay Lambert, and I am the MC for the chapter of Winnipeg within Creative Mornings, and it's really nice to welcome so many of you on a nice, brisk winter morning. I'd like to begin, actually, pardon me, I'll let you guys switch. I'd like to begin today's event by acknowledging that we are gathered on Treaty 1 territory, the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Inukjuit, Anishinaabeg, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and on the homeland of the Red River Métis Nation. Here's how our Creative Mornings headquarters welcomes the theme of corruption. Corruption can start innocently, like favoring someone you know over someone you don't, or recalling a gift they once sent and repay them with a project for that sweetness. Corruption is a spectrum, rewarding social connections and financial advantages over the rules of fair play. It exists in every society and every situation. And by situation, I mean institution. But also, situation might also work too. Some people survive through corruption by the labyrinth of bureaucracies where they live, making it literally impossible otherwise. But while they survive, others perish. Rising plumes of toxic chemicals, collapsing buildings not constructed to code, we owe the calamities all around us to those who cared more about profit than people and gain over the greater good. As social anthropologist Lucy Koechlin notes, a world without corruption is a powerful idea, but it doesn't appear out of the blue. It takes courage to speak out, to demand transparency and accountability, to strengthen the whistleblower protections and the rule of law, to break up corporate concentration while organizing coalitions of people to reset the balance. What will you do to hold power to account? As MC, I get the chance to highlight my thoughts around the theme, and this is certainly one that would have made me feel a little uncomfortable to talk about maybe a year or two prior to today. I'm the first to say that it took a while for me to find the courage to activate for myself and for the ones closest to me through different life experiences. I've learned that there's power in accountability and transparency in an environment that can feel corrupt or unsupported. I believe this work comes down to our relationship with ourselves and understanding how much we're willing to endure from someone or somewhere. Once we can acknowledge what we actually need to feel supported and seen, then the work can take place. And for a lot of us, that means taking some scary steps into the great unknown. As the old saying goes, trust your gut. Life's too short to be exposed to environments that leave us feeling small, unworthy, or second to. And I'd encourage all of us to continue advocating to protect not just our time and energy, but also our skill set for the spaces that deserve it most, and really work on not self-sabotaging ourselves, because I think all of us can relate to that in some capacity.
It isn't your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you when you're in my arms. I can feel you so close to me. Sorry. Oh my wildest dreams come true.
So as I was thinking about doing the manifesto and diversity statement today, I thought maybe I should think about the theme, and I'm going to corrupt our manifesto. So I'm going to invite 3 people up here, and we're going to read the manifesto backwards. So we're going to start from the bottom, and we're going to move towards the top and see how that changes our understanding of the manifesto. So I have 3 little slips of paper here, and if I have 3 volunteers who would come up, we're going to corrupt our manifesto today. So who would like to come and participate? First timers are welcome. Leah, come on up. Yes, Riley, come. Welcome. So I've numbered your papers. So one's going to go first. And I would like you to introduce yourselves as well. Sound good? Okay, so let's do introductions first, and then we're going to read our manifesto from the bottom up. All right. So Riley.
Hi everybody, I'm Riley. Can I go? Okay. Everyone is welcome. We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose, confident that they will inspire one another and inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world.
Hi, I'm Isadora. We believe in the power of community. We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connection and learning from others in hugs and high fives.
On the mic. Hi, I'm Leah. A creative life requires bravery and action, honesty and hard work. We are here to support you, celebrate with you, and encourage you to make the things you love. Everyone is creative.
Thanks for participating. I didn't think it was a good idea to corrupt our diversity statement. So that's why I did the manifesto instead. So our commitment to diversity and inclusion as part of Creative Mornings Winnipeg. The Winnipeg chapter has made a commitment to reflecting diversity and ensuring inclusion for our events. Located in one of the diverse communities in North America, we are as inclusive as we are creative, and we will be creative in order to achieve inclusion. We believe in the value of diversity of perspectives, audiences, and industries as we create safe events to debate and discuss what it means to be creative. We will celebrate multiple approaches and points of view, and we will be mindful and purposeful in building a culture where those differences are not only valued, but celebrated. Everyone is welcome. I'm very pleased today to welcome our speaker, Zeph. I actually encountered Zeph through one of her workshops. She was offering a workshop on flow, and I was at the very beginning of my journey around being really interested in different creative practices. And so she was posting on Facebook these amazing kind of pictures that were architectural features, but in a really interesting and unique way. And so I went into her workshop in the studio in the Exchange, and I was transformed. We sat in a room and she challenged us to think differently about what it meant to actually put pen to paper. And so I'm thrilled today to invite our speaker here because I think she's going to challenge us all to think differently. And this is not an easy theme to connect creativity with corruption. And so I really admire her courage and bravery to say yes to this opportunity and to join us today. So Zephyra is an architect by education and a visual artist by choice. She's dedicated to creating flow experiences through her visual art, writing, and fitness classes, advocating for their exceptional importance to our mental and physical health in today's digital age. She spends her days creating in her peaceful home studio on the Red River and guiding movement at the community gym, located just over there, a locally owned boutique fitness studio in downtown Winnipeg. Please help us in welcoming Zephyra Vun.
Good morning. How we doing? Thank you for the lovely introduction, Christine. I'm actually going to start today's talk with a little bit of more of a thorough introduction, just to give you a bit of a context of how I decide to approach the talk today. So, as was already mentioned, I am an architect by education and a visual artist by choice. I graduated with a Master's of Architecture degree from the U of M in 2011. And it was within that year that the Faculty of Architecture was really making a significant transition from hand craftsmanship, hand drafting to digital media, a lot of AutoCAD and VCAD. So I personally thought that it was a little bit strange for me to have spent 6 quite grueling years practicing architecture and learning these very important skills about hand craftsmanship, drawing, hand making, only to then sit in front of a computer for 8 to 10 hours a day for 5+ years, accumulating enough hours to then write an exam to become a registered architect in the province of Manitoba. So because of that, I started my own business called Anarchy Design, which initially started out as an architectural consulting business. I focused a lot on just smaller residential projects, additions, cottage design, that kind of thing. So that took about 2 years initially of Anarchy Design. I did all of my drafts by hand because my whole philosophy was to uphold that humanized craftsmanship in design, which, as I'm sure you can assume, was very time consuming. So that's why Anarchy Design eventually morphed more from a architectural consulting practice to a visual art practice, which is where I find myself today. I'm just gonna read a little bit directly from my artist statement. Upon graduating with a Master's of Architecture degree in 2011, I made a critical observation about design that would forever change my approach to creating. Design and art can often be perceived as unapproachable. Today, design professionals seldom work by hand, relying heavily on digital media, while digital artists and mass-produced art prevail. Both become foreign, dehumanized practices that often produce objective and generic work rather than involved expressions of their unique creator. Originality disappears. It is difficult to connect with a piece of art that has no apparent human origin. My work is an attempt at reintegration to honor and validate our innate human desire for deeper visceral experience. The pseudonym Anarchy Design was derived to embody this philosophy by placing archy, a commonly used prefix in the architecture profession, secondary to an, meaning anti, metaphorically diminishing what it represents: disconnected, dehumanized, and unapproachable design. So in trying to keep with today's theme of anti-technology, I decided to give you guys a handout. I will have slides kind of going in the background, but something tactile that you can hold in your hands, grab a pencil or paper, and we're going to engage through that handout instead of doing your typical PowerPoint presentation. So we're actually going to start with just a really short activity. If you want to grab your booklets on the first page, you'll see a list of important skills that one might say an artist, visual or other, may cultivate in order to be successful. So I want you to take a look at this list of skills, and in your opinion, I just want you to rank the three most important. The three most important. You don't have to rank them 1 through 3, just identify your top 3 out of that list. So I'll quickly just run through them here. Theory and artistic knowledge, vision, ability to conjure something unique out of nothing, technical skills, eye for composition, ability to compose, access to proper tools, ability to connect with the body, as in trust, intuition, and feeling, experience, and ability to replicate or copy. So go ahead, I'll give you 30 seconds, just at your own, on your own, rating them or identifying the top 3, I should say. Okay, so I'm just going to read through the list and then raise your hand if you put it as one of your top 3, okay? So from the top, theory and artistic knowledge. Did anybody put that? Okay. Vision, ability to conjure something unique out of nothing. Nice, nice, okay. Technical skills. Nice. Eye for composition, ability to compose. Vast majority. Access to proper tools. Okay. 4 or 5 there. Ability to connect with the body, trust, intuition, feeling. Nice. Experience, couple. And ability to replicate or copy. Ooh, none for that one. Okay. Sweet. Well, I think we're kind of all on the same page. I chose vision, ability to conjure something unique out of nothing, eye for composition or ability to compose, and the ability to connect with the body, trust, intuition, and feeling. So these are the 3 skills that are going to kind of form the framework for our conversation today. And just as a reminder, the talk is entitled "The Purity of Creative Expression, Technology's Corruption of the Process." So I'm not sure if you can see those slides behind me, but just throughout my talk today, they're just going to be cycling through. They feature 2 of my signature works, my flow murals and my labyrinth architecture drawings. Both are created by hand. There is zero ability to erase with the flow drawings, which are not these ones. The labyrinth architecture drawings are like the section cuts of homes with people and household objects that are intricately woven to tell a story. And then the flow drawings are the black and white flow drawings of geometric shapes and patterns that kind of weave together. So no ability to erase with the flow drawings and a very limited ability to erase with the labyrinth architecture drawings, as those are done with pencil and paper, and they're very detailed and very fine. So that means intentionality and trust are integral to both of the creative processes with these pieces. With the flow drawings, there are no mistakes really, or chances to go back or undo. Control Z, no ability to do that. Only opportunities to work off of what was unexpected. With the labyrinth architecture pieces, I just have to be very careful to limit the number of quote-unquote mistakes. My flow drawings are completely unplanned and improvised on the spot. I use nothing but the present moment to inspire the next stroke, which means I'm in a deep flow state when I'm creating these, hence the name. This deep presence allows me to create these pieces without overthinking, literally just going with the flow and trusting my instincts. They are a physical manifestation of each present moment unfolding. So as we move through our discussion today, I'm just going to be occasionally posing some reflective questions. So I also provided some space on the back of your booklet there to just jot some notes of interest or questions that you have at the end of the talk. All right, so we're going to jump into the first skill. So vision, ability to conjure something unique out of nothing. As an artist is someone who can turn an intangible idea into something tangible. They can tune into their intuition and author something original, something that has never been created in the same way that they themselves can create it. To me, this is by definition creativity. So how does technology affect this human ability to create something unique out of nothing? We're going to do a visualization exercise next, okay? So it's called You as an Artist. This is how it's going to work. I'm going to explain it first, and then we'll jump into it. So I'm going to get you to close your eyes, not yet, but when I tell you to. And I'm going to describe 3 different scenarios, each with a perspective A and a perspective B. Perspective A is going to describe more of a traditional creative process, and then perspective B is going to describe one where one uses technology. After each scenario, I'll repeat the first skill in the form of a question, so you can kind of reflect on both perspectives. So after this scenario, I'll say, how well do each of these perspectives, A and B, express your ability to truly conjure something unique out of nothing? All right, let's try it. You're going to be closing your eyes for a while. So close your eyes, take a big deep breath, and I'm just going to say the scenarios, each with perspective A and B, and just visualize the words that I'm speaking. All right, perspective A. You are sitting down at an easel with a big blank canvas in front of you. At your disposal, you have a specific set of mediums and artist tools that you have chosen specifically for this piece of art you are about to create. Perspective B. You are sitting down in front of a computer screen. At your disposal, you have an infinite amount of tools that simulate any kind of art instrument you could ever think of in any color that exists in the metaverse. The same tools that are accessible to any other person who uses this same software. How well do each of these perspectives express your ability to truly conjure something unique out of nothing? Second scenario, keep those eyes closed. Perspective A. You begin to create, thoughtfully and intentionally laying down one paint stroke after the next, breathing deeply to ensure a steady hand as the brush in your hand traverses the large blank canvas. You dip your brush in water, listening to it swish around as you decide which paint color you will use next. You are careful to put the right amount of paint at the tip of your brush and put the right amount of pressure of brush to canvas to achieve the desired stroke, which you entrust yourself to create. Perspective B. You begin creating, experimenting with the wide array of stroke sizes and style choices that are available to you on this software to select the exact one you want, undoing each one after you've tried and vetoed it. You adjust 5 different types of settings: style, size, color, gradient, and angle with the click of a button. Since you have infinite ability to erase without much thought, you drag your plastic Apple Pen across the glass screen, which creates a line that looks like it came from a fat green paintbrush, not a thin white inkless Apple Pen. You hit Control Z because it didn't come out as you wanted to. You hit Control Z 8 more times until you get it right. How well do each of these perspectives express your ability to truly conjure something unique out of nothing? Okay, last one. Perspective A. You have completed your masterpiece. You remove the canvas from the easel and literally feel the weight and substance of your hours of hard work. You place the canvas in front of you, in front of a window, so it can be lit by the beautiful natural light streaming in as you admire it. You sign the bottom right corner with your signature and date. Perspective B. You have completed your masterpiece. You save your file to your computer and wait for it to save. You make a backup of it and put it on your hard drive. You close your laptop. How well do each of these perspectives express your ability to truly conjure something unique out of nothing? All right, open your eyes. So, in all the scenarios, I think there's clearly a disconnect or detachment between the artist and the creation in regards to perspective B, yeah? With the first scenario, there was unlimited tool choice. So if you were in attendance at last month's Creative Mornings, where Gabrielle said limitation breeds creativity, that was a point in her talk, which I resonate quite significantly with, which ultimately suggests that something is more quote-unquote creative when you have a limited resource, right? When you conjure something unique out of nothing as opposed to infinite possibility. The second one, there was that disconnection between the process and the actual utilization of the tool itself. So where there was that disconnect between the results, that thin plastic inkless Apple Pen that made the brush stroke that looked like it came from a fat green paintbrush, right? And also the process of using that tool. So one, if you recall, was very meticulous and intentional and careful, and the other one was quite unintentional because there's an ability to go back infinite amount of times. And then finally, the last scenario, the end result. Quite literally, there was something versus nothing, right? At the end, you had an actual physical, tangible canvas, and then perspective B, it was just arguably nothing, right? Nothing tangible. So I feel, as an artist, that when you do not have a direct connection or consequence or relationship to what you're creating, how does that really affect the process? Does it become more intentional or less intentional? So I know with my flow murals, visually seeing the physical manifestation in real time, without the ability to erase anything, for me that is truly the conjuring of something unique out of nothing. There's also no preconceived idea of what it's going to look like, right? As I said, I create these unplanned and improvised. So the creative process manifests on its own and is not controlled or dictated by anything that technology has to offer, only what my body has to offer and the mediums that I'm using. All right, so that's the first skill. You can check that one off the list. Moving on to the second skill. So I for composition, ability to compose. We're going to do a little activity for this one. So if you turn your page, you'll see a blank piece of paper there that says draw. So what I want us to do for like maybe a minute, maybe two, no pressure, I want you to draw the scene that's in front of you. But it has to be a scene, okay? So like you could draw me at this microphone with the slides in the background, with the chair here if you want, but I don't want it to just be like an object, like a cup on a table. So I want you to draw an actual scene, and I'll give you like a minute to do that. All right? Yeah, it's only a minute, so no pressure. Doesn't have to be good. So I'll give you some examples in my own practice with the labyrinth architecture drawings you see. Because erasing is so difficult, right? Everything is so detailed. I have to be incredibly careful and intentional and knowledgeable about composition and where I draw things and where I put them. in comparison to if I used a program on an iPad, it would be a totally different experience, right? I could Control Z anytime something didn't work out. I could zoom in really close. So it's a totally different process when you're using technology versus when it's just pure pen to paper human interaction with the medium that you're using. Another example, I used to, not so much anymore, a tattoo on the side as just an extension of my art practice. And I think part of the appeal of why people came to me for tattoos instead of other studios is for that very reason, is that I did hand draw everything. So for example, if somebody came to me and said, I want a tattoo with a bird and 3 flowers, I would have to draw a bird and 3 flowers in an aesthetically pleasing composition right off the hop, right? Like directly pencil to paper drawing it. Whereas I feel today, not everybody, but today there's definitely more of a reliance on iPads and computer software to the point where the tattoo artist could literally draw 3 flowers separately and a bird separately and then merge them, right? Using software, even manipulate the size, see what goes where, move it up and down, which ultimately I think affects the purity of the process. And the last example I'm going to give is not, I was going to say not really creatively related, but it's basically culinary art. So if you consider culinary art creative, which it is, then it's still relevant. Say, for example, you have 2 chefs, okay? One chef is just normal and exists normally. The other chef has a superpower to go back in time, infinite amount of times. So chef over here, normal. Chef over here can literally put like a teaspoon of Cajun into a recipe and then taste it and be like, no, that's not right. Go back, take it out, put 2 teaspoons in next time. Whose process do you think is more pure in the creative process, right? If you have infinite ability to go back and do it over and over again, interesting question to reflect on. So this brings us to our last skill as we near the end of my talk here. And for me, this might be the most important skill that I personally find in my art practice. So the ability to connect with the body as in trust, intuition, and feeling. So here's another little bit from my artist statement. I strongly believe that hand making and corporeal craftsmanship are critical in generating provocative, authentic work that is humanized. It forces a slowed and mindful creative process through physical and intentional interaction. Handmade work also manifests a restorative quality, felt by the creator and observer by connecting the mind and body through tactility. So tactility meaning using touch as a sense. So for me, tactility is a method I use to connect my body with what I'm creating. That connection bolsters and perpetuates trust and intention, as in the more we develop a connection and trust in the body, the more natural and consistent of a practice it becomes, and the more intentional we inevitably are. We become less reliant on that need to undo or erase or to try a million different versions of something just because we can. We develop that skill to see things not as mistakes or not good, but just as opportunities, just as I explained with my flow murals. I've never encountered a time when I've created these unplanned improvised flow murals where I'm like, oh shit, I gotta go back, I gotta erase what I just did. It's always just a perpetual moving forward in the creative process and seeing, okay, that's what I did, how can I work with it? And I think all of this ultimately comes back to a deep connection with the body. I think my role as a group fitness instructor, I see a lot of community folks here. I think my role as a group fitness instructor ultimately helps my artistic practice, because in being a group fitness instructor, I do have to cultivate a really deep connection with my body. It's something I write about a lot as well, because I think that connection ultimately is important in how we authentically express ourselves, right? There's that human source to an expression. And without the connection to the body, you don't really have that human source. So the visual artist puts pencil to paper, the musician, finger to guitar string, the dancer or fitness instructor, music to movement. There is a consequence to that action. It has bearing and weight. It's only when there's that direct relationship, direct connection, and consequence to your creative actions that trust, intuition, and feeling remain part of the process, something that technology arguably takes away. So let's bring this back full circle and reiterate the theme of the talk today, which is corruption. Synonyms for corruption are dishonesty, manipulation, misrepresentation, falsification, and abuse. As a creative, when you develop your own skills, like composition, for example, that we talked about today, when you develop trust within your body and not a computer, that is when originality truly flourishes, the conjuring of something unique out of nothing. I believe that originality is a foundational cornerstone of what it really means to be an artist, what it means to be creative. So I believe the underlying issue with technology being involved in the creative process is that it corrupts the originality of the artist. One could argue that a positive of technology's advancement in the creative process is that everybody and anybody can be an artist, right? It becomes more of an accessible practice. One could also argue that a negative impact to technological advancement in the creative process is that anybody can become an artist. With the emergence of AI art, where the ownership of artists' work is being compromised, and NFTs, where there's a whole new world of licensing said ownership is being developed, not only can anyone become an artist, but anyone has access to your art. When something as pure as an artist's authentic expression, right, their unique conjuring of something unique out of nothing becomes accessible to anyone and everyone, what happens to originality, that cornerstone of what it means to be an artist? The last thing I want to say, just to conclude this talk today, is that we have to remember that corruption can only occur when people are unconscious or unaware, right? Those synonyms that I just mentioned, dishonesty, manipulation, falsification, misrepresentation, and abuse, those things only have the ability to overpower when people do not do their due diligence in critiquing and questioning a particular method or standard. So I believe the key is not to deem technology as good or bad, but to be wary and mindful of how technology influences our processes and not just the creative ones. Thank you.